I don't deserve this award, but I have arthritis, and I don't deserve that either. Jack Benny was originally Benjamin Kubelski. I was born in Waukegan, Illinois, a long, long time ago. In fact, our rabbi was an Indian. His one-liners are great, but he didn't start out as a comedian. He worked in vaudeville as a violinist. But there was another violinist with the surname of Kubelik, so he asked him to change his name, and he went with Ben K. Benny. Now, he kept playing the violin, but he started telling jokes. And then a comedian named Ben Burney didn't like his name, so he finally settled on Jack Benny. Ta-da! Jack Benny rose to stardom when he appeared as a guest on the Ed Sullivan radio show. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jack Benny. There will be a slight pause while you say to yourself, who cares? He was famous for that self-deprecating humor. He would spend 27 years on the radio and 14 years on television. And in 1959, he won an Emmy for Best Comedy Show. Jack Benny continued to play his violin all on his show. I have a real Stradivarius. It better be, because I paid $110 for it. It's the only one made in Japan. Now, Eddie Anderson played his personal valet and chauffeur, Rochester. He was always getting the better of his boss, who was vain, self-deprecating, and very cheap. Jack Benny would sometimes yank old episodes and wouldn't let them play because he felt they were inappropriate, and he would instruct his writers not to write racial stereotypes. His wife, Mary Livingston, appeared on the show, playing his pal and his secretary. Phil Harris was also on the show, the band leader. We also know him from The Jungle Book by Disney. He was his jive-talking drunk friend, and voice actor Mel Blanc also appeared on the show. Some of his famous guests include Frank Sinatra, Judy Garland, Bing Crosby, the comedy duo Burns and Allen. In fact, George Burns was Mr. Benny's best friend. On one of his shows, he was held up by a robber. Your money or your life! I said your money or your life! I'm thinking. But in real life, Mr. Benny was not cheap. He would give $1 million to charity over his lifetime. And kids, if you don't think these old comedians can't be blue, here's one of my favorite Jack Benny one-liners. I went to a meeting for premature ejaculators. I left early. This is Todd Pickering for Walk of Fame Wednesdays. I will see you next week in Hollywood.
Marilyn, I'm mad about you.
Well, in my next picture, there's going to be so many love scenes. I want you for my leading man.
Oh, Marilyn, I'd love to be your leading man.
Good. Now, if we can only get permission from Darryl Zanuck.
Why? Who did Mr. Zanuck have in mind?
Himself.